Hello, everybody. Welcome to THEC Till I Die. Welcome to Full Time Sports Network. And of course, welcome to Spotlight MUFC. Hope everybody is well. I am joined today by the fantastic Irishman that is Rebel. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Senior Ole Cullum Solskjaer. How are we doing?
Oh, no. I'm going to be better once we beat Sheff United later today, mate. I'm going to be a lot better once we've done that.
I hear you on that front. Spoiler alert: I do have concerns already. Looking at something that I've just seen.
Yeah. I think me and you have seen the same thing, to be honest with you, mate. So let's just get into it. Obviously, you sent me your team that you would like to see. Before we bring up the actual team, this is your team. I don't know what pick. Yeah, you can see that. So just walk us through this team. This is your team, Rebel.
Okay, so my thought process was going back to a Jose Mourinho comment early in the week where there's 6 players allegedly that he didn't want that club still remaining. So Onan is obvious because he's actually been a shot-saving god this year, despite all the early jitters that he had. I frankly, I don't want to ever see Aaron Wan-Bissaka at left back again at the moment because I just think that we're missing so much going forward. So I said, now against all teams of all, Amas should have been getting a game against the likes of a Sheffield United. I think it's important to keep developing Kambawala. Dallo, again, is kind of a no-brainer given the fact that we have no other kind of tangible right-back options. Manu, obviously, keeping him on the road to developing. I would have toyed with the idea of maybe starting Mount over Fernandez, just with the idea of giving him a bit of a, I suppose, time where he didn't have to lead the line, but obviously injuries have put pay to that. And then I'm kind of sick of Rashford this year and his effort rate, so that's why I went for Diallo on that side, just to see, is there a chance that we have a player there that we could use next season?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on a lot of those things. I'm fed up of seeing Rashford play week in, week out when he's not actually putting the performance in. But I mean, the official teams are out, so it is Onana, Maguire, Fernandez, Højlund, Eriksen, Garnacho, Casemiro, Dallo, Anthony, Wan-Bissaka, and Manu. You happy with that?
No, quite frankly, because, like, with all due respect to Christian Eriksen, his legs are gone. He was a liability in that Coventry game because we saw the minute that Manu came off for him. Even though Manu might have been gassed at that stage, he just didn't pull his weight. Like, I've all the respect for a man that fought for his career after the trauma that he went through at Euros that time. He proved that he still had a career in football when he came to Premier League, so much so that Manchester United took a chance on him last season and he done a job. Now, obviously, that mammoth Andy Carroll destroyed his season last year. And let's call a spade a spade. He hasn't been the same player since. It took a step out of him. It took a degree of confidence out of him. And at this stage, I don't believe Christian Eriksen is a Premier League player, unfortunately. But I think he deserves to go out on his own terms. So, look, it is what it is for the rest of the season. In terms of what's on bench, I'm just looking here. Was there any options that we could have used?
Well,
and
I mean, I can read the bench for you if you want, mate. We've got Diallo, Agunye, Jackson, Wheatley, Amas, Amrabat, McTominay, Bendier, and Folson. So we haven't really got a bench.
I'll be honest with you, I probably would have said, look, start Amas and maybe stick Wan-Bissaka in with Casemiro and Maguire. Manu then between the lines with Bruno, Anthony, Garnacho, Højlund up front. I just think it's time to look at something different because we had to look at options that would keep Eriksen on bench, to be honest with you. It's Sheffield United would probably get away with it, but it's worrying.
See, I've got 2 questions. Number 1, would you have rather have had Amrabat on instead of Eriksen? You know, he is good going forward and he can defend.
Yes, quite frankly, even though he hasn't shown us a whole pile and the promise that was thought he would deliver never materialized. At this stage, given where Ericsson is more than where Amrabat is, I'd have started Amrabat.
Yeah. And the other one is it's a bit of a loaded question. Um, what does Diallo have to do to get a game?
That's the thing. Like, I'm not sure if it's on the agenda for later on, but I do have a gripe with Mr. Anthony, the fidget spinner, dos Santos, that I'll get into later. But the mind boggles as to after his heroic scoring a winner for us against the Liverpudlians in FA Cup, how after his suspension we didn't go, right, let's take a look at this kid. We've got X number of games left. We'll use him as we think he's able for. So if he's gassed after a game, then obviously you put him on bench for the next game to get him to recuperate. But we have not taken a proper look at this kid. It's almost as if we're saying, look, we're probably going to let you go next season. And Eric's kind of going, well, I'm probably going to be shooting outdoor next season, and I'm going to pick my people until I go. A bit like Gareth Southgate.
Well, yeah, a little bit like Gareth Southgate. I mean, this. I'll read the Sheff United team out because obviously the game is today. Fodringham, Holgate, Amazon. I can't pronounce that name. Amazonik, Trusty, Harmer, Airblaster, Osborne, Bogle, Brooks, Diaz, and Archer. So they're playing three at the back by the looks of it with flying wing backs. Does that give you a bit of positivity?
Like, let's look at it this way: they've conceded the most goals in all of Premier League. Only Luton are anywhere near them in terms of number of goals conceded. To be honest with you, we probably get a game for them at this stage. The way that they've kind of gone and looked at the season, because I don't think they believe that there's anything left to play for. They're going to Championship and they know it. Like, in terms of people that we know, Holgate obviously is the ex Everton centre back. If I'm, oh no,
Yes.
ex Arsenal, isn't it?
Mason Holgate.
Yeah, he's ex Arsenal, isn't he?
No, I'm sure he's ex-Everton.
No, ex Everton,
Yeah.
via Southampton. Sorry, but there's not a whole lot of household names. Like, Colin, I suppose you play fantasy football like I do every now and again, and during the entire season, barring needing someone that came in at 3.9 or 4.4 million, it never even entered your mind to put a Sheffield player on your team other than to, well, actually needs an extra 5 million there to get such and such a striker. Yeah, we'll throw him on. He plays 2 points on bench if I need to.
I mean, I don't even think even with needing a little bit of a cheap player, I still don't think I've got a Sheffield United player in my fantasy team, to be honest with you, because you just knew what was going to happen. And hopefully, for our sake, you know, we were very lucky at the weekend. So we don't have a repeat of that. I'm going to get your thoughts on that weekend disaster, even though we went through in a moment. I'm just going to bring up the last couple of games we have played. So going from, 93, we beat them 3-0. 07, 2-0. In the Cup in 2016, 1-0. 2020, we beat them 3-0. 21, they beat us 2-1 at home. This is all at home as well. You know, are we going to see a scoreline today that's going to be very flattering towards us or very concerning?
If Manchester United was a functioning team, I would say we should be beating these last 5-6-0. But Manchester United is not in the position where it's organised. Like, I'm just looking even worst case scenario. There's a guy with one of the greatest names in football at the moment, Habib Ogunai, on the bench. He's a defender. We brought in a young Scot, Lewis Jackson, also defender. Surely it would have been preferable to have Casemiro and Harry Maguire covering one of them in centre back than putting Christian Eriksen on field. And
Well, Casemiro is playing at centre back as well.
But I mean, if you kind of want to say, right, I want to keep some bit of a shape in midfield, but at the same time, there's a young fella that hasn't really had a lot of experience in Premier League. He's playing the worst team in the Premier League by a country mile. Between Casemiro and Harry, the walking wounded Maguire, because apparently he's been injured for the last 3 weeks, but he does not want to leave United without any senior centre backs. Now, if that is the case, I will give him his plaudits, but I will also say you are a stupid idiot for doing so, because at the end of the day, you are jeopardizing your career, and you could be shortening your career by playing through injuries. We've seen it with other players where they've continued on, they put on the brave face, and it's done them at the end. Look at Michael Owen. He was rushed back from injuries. Look where he is now. And Harry Maguire is putting himself up for the, oh, captain, my captain kind of fall on my shield. But he's definitely compromising his career. He's still only, 29?
Yep.
If he's not careful, he'd be finished by 31.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Obviously, I know they're changing certain things next season with the amount of games being played, etc., etc. That's next season. That isn't now. We're going to look at the now. And how I'm looking at it is, everybody knows I am not a shy person. I will make my views openly abundant. If I know we've got to take into account who we're playing, don't get me wrong there. I am taking that into account. But if we go out there tonight and we play football and we put 6, 7, 8 past Sheff United without Marcus Rashford anywhere near the team, do we have to consider seriously dropping Rashford for the rest of the season?
I think the serious consideration at this stage is how much can we get for him in summer and move him out of club, because he's paid a very substantive wage for what he is producing. And we've spoken before about potential rumours or clauses where if they're not in starting team when they are available, that they get compensated on top of their wages for the fact that they've been left out of team. And if that is true, that's deplorable. But I'm not going to go into the suspect line today. But I think we have to kind of look back in this. With or without Marcus Rashford, we played a championship side in Coventry. We're playing a championship side, for want of all intents and purposes, in Sheffield United or Sheffield tonight. And I'm going into this game not confident. Like, a Manchester United fan will always be subject to an upset every now and again. It'll be, that whoopsie daisy. We peppered them on the line. Their goalkeeper was absolutely outstanding. They robbed one and we lost. Whoop de do. You dissect it, you look at the overall performance in the game, and you kind of go, well, that's football, isn't it? Whereas I'm so browbeaten by this Manchester United football team, and Jose Mourinho's comments this week have kind of reinforced it, that I think our squad needs Renticle to come in and move out a lot of the rodents that are taking occupancy and taking away from our club.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been an up and down season for us United fans. I think the highlight for me, which really summed up how bad we actually are this season, was watching how Arsenal absolutely picked apart Chelsea last night. We struggled against a very poor Chelsea side, and Arsenal picked it apart as if they were going through a garden picking flowers.
Well, as you said, Chelsea's attack is non-existent. Michelle Jackson there up front couldn't score. She was like Stevie Wonder at this stage, because I don't reckon Stevie Wonder would score a Premier League goal first before, with the amount of chances that Jackson had last night. It was brutal. But you have the likes of Casado, who we now see is an overpaid. They overpaid for him, and he wasn't the player that they thought he was. He was made look good by the likes of Alexis McAllister, who's now at Liverpool. But that Chelsea team is completely and utterly all over the place, as you rightly said. And they got carved like Swiss cheese. Bearing in mind, and I'm not making excuses for Arsenal here, Saka looks like he needs season to end now. He's wrecked. They've gone through their fair share of injury problems. They also don't have a recognised striker. Could you imagine if they had a Haaland, a Hoyland, a Salah, or somebody that is just completely and utterly lethal in front of goal, with the likes of Saka then and all these lads kind of feeding off him? It wouldn't have been 5. It'd have been 10, because Chelsea were carved through like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah. I mean, also, before I forget, I just want to say a massive congratulations to the under-18s team who secured the title yesterday with a 2-1 win against Man City's team.
Well, like I don't think you can even say that game in isolation. They've been incredible all year. They did the score was what, 9-0?
Yep. Nobody were expecting that.
Like, you have to look at this team and say, okay, who's working with them? What's their game plan? And how can we ensure that whatever percentage of players that you'd expect to come out of a youth team that eventually do transition to senior Premier League football are not poisoned by the atmosphere and the ethos that's currently at club? Now, to go back to that United Coventry game just briefly, I'm going to take you back to a screen pan to the owners, Sir Jim Radcliffe and Molehead himself. Obviously, we know that Sir Jim Radcliffe ran London Marathon before game.
Yeah.
He arrived sometime after the game had commenced. But if you were to take that picture and look at it, you wouldn't have thought it was Jim Radcliffe that had ran marathon. You'd have sworn it was Molehead, because Molehead was falling asleep.
Yeah, we discussed this obviously in private chat, because you sent me the picture and I said it looks like he's fallen asleep. You know, it looks like one person's in absolute despair of what's going off, and he's just not bothered and fallen asleep. I mean, I do want to keep on this Coventry thing because, I mean, there's a certain person out there who has a very, very big channel. I'm obviously not going to say who or what channel.
Bridge.
Yeah. Who has said that any United fan that has come out and said, you know, we didn't deserve to win that FA Cup semi, or, you know, things such as, if you can't enjoy a win, you're not really a United fan. I mean, comments like that is what splits fans apart. And I feel embarrassed as a United fan that happened. But I know you want to talk about him a little bit, so I'm going to bring it in this part as well. How embarrassing was it to see Anthony do what he did?
I'll be honest with you, I cringed. Like, I was watching that game down in a public establishment because there was also a GA match going on at the same time, and I wanted to watch both at the same time. And I'd say something now if it was Pep's mouldy army that we were just after doing in FA Cup semi-final, but it wasn't. It was Coventry City who clawed their way back from not 1, not 2, but 3-0 down. So in essence, we capitulated, and I just say thank God for the rest of the squad that they kind of went, hold up, wait a minute, what's this Muppet doing? Why is he giving it the big one? And what killed me even more is he doubled down in a bloody tweet about it afterwards and talked about, but Coventry obviously earned their way to this. No, mate. He celebrated and gave the larger one after being 3-0 up, after being one of the most successful English clubs in history of football in the English game. And he embarrassed yourselves out there. Anthony, for that alone, needed not to be seen for a couple of weeks, in my opinion, because he needed to get his head back down to reality and realise, hang on a second, this is Manchester United Football Club. This is the team that should be in latter stages of Champions League football. Whether they win or not, that's immaterial, but they should be competing at the very least. They should not be 20 to 30 odd points behind Premier League leaders, looking like an absolute shambles, and probably, as it stands, destined for the Europa bloody Conference League. I remember giving Spurs fans awful time over the Leaky Vase Cup, as I used to call it, the Junior B Forgotten Nations Association Cup. Like, Manchester United Football Club, and Jose Mourinho, again, to use that comment, hit the nail on the head, have players that are not switched in to what they should be doing. I was embarrassed by, number one, copping up 3 goals against Championship side. I'd say something if it was Real Madrid and Benzema in his prime decided, F this, I'm going to take this game by the horns, and if I get there, I get there. This wasn't prime Real Madrid. We then should have been kind of going, okay, lads, we got away with this. We need to go back now to hotel. We need to pull this game up and we need to look at where it all fell apart and not repeat this ever again. But we've been in that situation so many times this season. It's incredible. I think it's incredible to be saying this 13 years or so on from when Ferguson first left. We still need a full squad purge, barring a couple of notable exceptions. And that is a scary thought to behest. Like, when's the last time, Colin, that you went looking at last couple of games of the season and you couldn't say anything with confidence that you would win such and such a game? When is the last time as a United fan, and hello to Moss, by the way, yes, the Lakers are going to crash out of the NBA, but I'm not that big of a basketball fan. I just like the jersey, I'll be honest with you.
I know nothing about basketball.
But NFL draft live tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to that. So big up on that one,
Yes,
Mr. Canadian Arsenal fan.
Go, make sure you check out Moss. Really, really good guy. And he's also saying Blades are my local WHL hockey team, but Blades on EAP. Yeah, well, we don't know. Me and Rebel aren't sure whether we're going to win. I can't remember what we were saying, but
Anthony, basically, you were going to give your spiel on him.
Yeah, I mean, surely, you know, like you said, he's had one good game, and that was against Arsenal when he first arrived. We haven't seen Anthony since. Surely we have shown now that Anthony isn't quality enough, but is a Ten Hag player, so we're not going to get rid of him. That's my belief. We're not going to get rid of Anthony, and it annoys me because there's so many better wingers out there, Premier League wingers that we could have got. I mean, you know, you can look at Spurs. They've gone out and got Timo Werner. Yeah, okay, he's not a fantastic striker, but on the wing, he's doing bits. You know, Kulusevski is another one. You know, we're now having to look at, like, when 13, 14 years ago, Rebel, we were looking at, oh, look at what Real Madrid are doing. You know, look at what Bayern Munich are doing. Oh, that's what we need to. They've just bought so and so. We need to get somebody as good as that. We are now going, and no disrespect to any of the teams, but we're now going. Look at what Aston Villa are doing. Look at what Tottenham are doing. We need to replicate that. We've dropped so far, and it's because we've wasted so much money on rubbish players. You know, we need to see a performance tonight from Anthony, 100%. I'm going to be on Anthony watch tonight because I'm doing the watch along in half an hour, just about. So I'm going to be on Anthony watch. I'll be joined by Dermot for that one. And I'm going to do a report about it. But yeah, I don't know what needs to change, Rebel. There's too much that needs to be changed. You're on mute.
My apologies. Before we go any further, there is kind of one thing I want to address. Let's look at Dutch League and since Premier League era. Players that have come over from the Dutch League that have been a success in Premier League football. There's obviously been a few at Arsenal. Your Bergkamps, your Overmarses. You obviously had the Van Nistelrooy. But by and large, we're seeing a lot of players not adapt to Premier League football after they leave Dutch League. We've seen a lot of managers that have been highly successful in Eredivisie not do it in Premier League. So I'm wondering, is there a culture disparity there that is making it that these players are not translating into the English game of football? Because when you look at the Liverpool role at the moment that they're applying for, they're looking at appointing a slightly chubbier looking Ten Hag, from what I can see. He's got a lot of gusto under him, like Ten Hag did when he was signed for Manchester United Football Club. And I have to wonder, is it the fact that players coming from Eredivisie, apart from those that are special and have a different cut of their jib, are overawed by where they find themselves? Because when you look at Anthony, and this is the last time I'm going to address him today, Manchester United had targeted him because Eric Ten Hag wanted him. Grand. But there was one big thing that is glossed over a lot. Forget what we ultimately paid for him. When he was identified first, when Eric Ten Hag said, "Get me my man," it was 35 million. So you got to question, what was the disconnect in Manchester United Football Club that we did not take the punt at 35 million and then felt justified to pay 75, 80 million for him 2 months down the track? And that is part of the problem I think Jim Ratcliffe is seeking to address, because you've noticed no broom has come in and swept clean every member of that executive. They're gone. They're not being seen. Now, he hasn't got all these people on board just yet, but there's obviously a reason why he thought he could not utilize these people. And I think that broom has to hit the playing squad, and we have to be very careful as to where we buy those players from. If you buy a 10 million euro player from the Eredivisie, whatever, chances are you'll sell him for 6 or 7 anyway. No problem. Because he's a cheap player.
Not only, I mean, if you buy a 10 million euro player from Eredivisie, you might be getting 15 million pounds for him because it's the Man United tax. He's played for Man United, so you're making profit. But how are we going to make profit off of an Anthony who we paid, what were it, 70 million? We're not seeing anywhere near that back.
And we didn't need to pay 40 of it if we went about and done it at the time. Like, if there was belief that, okay, we're going to support the manager in this, there's your 35 million. And obviously, if the data doesn't work, then obviously that then frames the mind of your sporting director or whoever, if you were organised properly, as to how much weight you put in suggestions from manager in the future. Because I think the big, that's the euro equivalent math, by the way, 90 million. It was 75 million pound ish.
Ish.
But you have to kind of look at the comments from Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Brailsford and a few of them. They're saying it is not for us to buy players that suit the manager of the day's system, because he may or may not be the manager of the day come in the season, come the season after that, depending on the performance-related reviews that are done by those executives and where they feel Manchester United Football Club should have been based on what had occurred.
Yeah, I mean, it's been well put out there that Eric Ten Hag is under pressure, is on trial to keep his job. I'm just keeping an eye on time because I do have to get ready for the watch along shortly.
Can I ask one question before you do wrap up? Because I think it's an important one, and I want to maybe bring in Bobby in at some time when he has a bit of a free moment in Dermot. We saw some energy from rival sporting clubs after Manchester United had been saved by VAR. Now, I have a problem with the VAR rule as it is, and that's going to be changed next season.
Yep.
But where was that energy when Manchester City were getting a penalty that they shouldn't have got? When, we say, Arsenal benefited from it. It's like with the FPL. Sorry, not the FPL. The financial fair play. FFP. When it's Manchester United, papers want to talk about it. But why aren't we talking about 115 charged City and their false money that ultimately meant that they were acting otherwise in accordance with financial fair play? Where's that energy for Chelsea, who's at 1.5 billion or whatever it is in the last 3 windows, and have to sell like 300 million euros worth of players before they can even start to look at players next season? Or that they had to do a not at arm's length transaction to move a property from the hands of club to a hands of connected party. The energy levels when it comes to VAR are very much worn with beer goggles. And what I want to ask you is, even with the new VR rule next year, we're still going to deal with the same level of numpties on pitch, because I was looking at the Euros. There's 2 refs going from England Premier League, and I'm kind of going, are they going to be or looking after the games that are not on telly, or that are kind of at a time of the day where nobody's going to be sitting at home watching them? Because Anthony Taylor and a few of them are absolute mugs for refs, and they're going to Euros.
I wouldn't have picked anybody from England, to be honest with you, to go to there. So the issue is we need to bring in the best of class. Now, I know obviously Bobby has said it to us a couple of times before. He said it on a show as well. The way that it's run in the MLS is fantastic. The referees and everything are spot on. Well, why don't we get them? Why don't we get them to come over? We send our guys over there so they're getting trained over there, and have the ones that are over there come over here so it's run properly.
Here's the thing, though, Colm, and I don't think it'll ever work unless we do it this way. Say you're a ref on field today. I'm up in VAR. I ain't going to make you look bad, because next week you could be above and you could say, right, Rebel there, he done me last week by making me look stupid. Party time here. He's fucked this one up. We're going for it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they need to not disclose who the VAR officials are. Then, if that's the case,
I don't think they should be active match officials. I think they should be a team on their own, completely disconnected from officials that are day to day on pitch. If you're authorized to ref Premier League football, you do not ever go up VAR room. You're never going to be in there. And if it comes to a time where you need to retire, you go through whatever process that they see if you're suitable and fit to do VAR after that. But you should not be a VAR official if you're an active ref.
Or have ex-players in the VAR room.
Yeah.
I know people don't like that idea, but ex-players in the VAR room, because they've played the game. I know that old phrase. I played the game. They have played the game. They know what's cynical, what's not, what's accidental, what's purposeful. You know. We are going to do some more shows. Rebel is going to be joining me a lot more, because he is going to be my co-host on MUFC Spotlight. So it's fantastic to have somebody there. You've got Moss agreeing with you there, Rebel, as well, saying, I agree. He does agree. So we're going to discuss things. I'm going to try and get Dermo and Bobby on so we can have this debate. So I think it's a debate that's needed. And also, we're going to do a keep, sell, loan show at some point. But Rebel, before we go, I've got 2 important questions to ask you. First off, what's the score going to be today?
My heart would say that I want it to be 4-0 plus. My head says we scrape a 2-1 win.
Interesting. So what you want to see is a load of this on the stream today.
Welcome to my party. We're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare start.
So we're going to want to see a lot of that. And the second one, and most important question I think I need to ask you is, Eric in, Eric out?
I've tried to resist the calls against him. I've kind of made excuses of he's been dealing with Muppets. Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy were in the director's board poisoning him. But after seeing some of his decision making the last couple of weeks, I'm finding it very hard to defend the man at this stage. I'd give if he's our manager start next season, I'll give him the chance. I will have been open book, but I think at this stage, unfortunately, his goose is cooked, and he's probably going to be going back to an Ajax, or maybe even replacing Schlott, who's going to Schlott, I can't remember how you pronounce it, who's going to Liverpool in the Feyenoord gig.
Yeah, well, I think I've been very vocal with what I believe. I can't back Ten Hag anymore. Even if we go on and win this game 56-0, I don't think I can back Ten Hag. At the moment, I'm just so disconnected with it all. And do you know what? I think we're going to pump them tonight. I really do. I don't know why.
Before you go any further, do you want to drop the link of the new channel into the
God, you're
comments?
asking me
So
to do
some
something
people.
now. You're asking me to do some work. What's going on?
I know, yeah.
Yes.
Because I think that's very important that we we link that in, like, you know, where
Yes,
to find
yes,
us.
yes. Boom. There we go.
But
That is the link to the new channel. Everybody, please do go over, like, and subscribe. Let's get up there in the views and the numbers, because obviously we're going to be bringing United content as much as what we possibly can, and we'll get people on. We won't just talk rubbish between me and Rebel. We'll get some so-called knowledgeable people on, and some really knowledgeable people. You know, people like Dermo and Bobby. I'll let you put which one falls into which category. I'm not doing
I
that.
would be very curious to see both the reviews of Harry Kane's season, I'll be honest with you, because he went to a team that were serial winners that pretty much had the Celtic pass in Germany for league titles. So much so, he's cursed them that they didn't even win the Tippy Tappy Super Cup, remember, in his first game.
Yeah.
Like,
the Harry Kane curse. The Harry Kane curse. But no, right. I need to go get ready for a watch along. So thank you very much. Rebel, before we go, where are people finding you, my friend?
well, obviously you'll find me in Spotlight MUFC and, of course, Full-Time Sports in Network, and it's at Kerry_Rebel on Twitter/X, or whatever way you want to call it yourself.
And of course, you can find me right here, Full-Time Sports Network, THFC till I die. Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, everywhere. Go to Twitch as well, people. Go to Twitch. Double Dumb Gaming. Go to Twitch. That's all I'm going to say. Go to Twitch. Double Dumb Gaming. There's some good clips on there. But as for me and Rebel, it's goodbye for now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we shall see you next time.